would like to take you into my heart-wrenching story, but before you do that, don't forget to subscribe to the blog and click on the bell icon if you want to see more interesting stories in the future. As we speak, let's call my ex-wife Kristen, 27 years of age, and me, Marcus, 29 years of age. Our marriage had been going for 1.5 months at that point. The scene in which I was standing at the time was a very strange one. I used to be a childhood friend with Kristen, and one of Kristen's cousins, who happened to be her aunt's son, was a friend of ours as well. Since we were children, we played together and we were very attached to each other. From the time I met her, I liked her. Although I felt like Kristen's brother liked her, it was clear that she wanted to be with me as much as it was with her. We were able to study until we reached my high school, and then I and my family had to move to another place because my father was a member of the police department, so he was transferred to another place. So unfortunately, I had to leave Kristen. The two of us kept in touch by email or by phone at all times. Following the completion of my degree, I decided to meet Kristen in order to continue my relationship. It had been a long time since I had met her. It was a pleasure meeting him. My expectations were that she would forget me after a long time, but it appears that she's much more attached to me than ever before. I did not feel like the spark that I felt when I was a child, but I did know in my heart that I was in love with her at this time. During a conversation, I asked her about the brother of her cousin. However, she did not answer my question and changed the subject. This is also why I did not bring it up again, because I thought that perhaps it would not be of interest to her to talk about him. When we first started dating, I noticed that she always kept her cell phone next to her, so I ignored it because I thought she would be busy with her friends at that time. The fact that I had trust in her meant that I did not think to invade her privacy. I met her parents and her siblings after many years of not being in contact with them. There is no doubt that they found me very nice and good attached to me more than they used to during my childhood. I remember her parents making jokes about how when I was a child, I was naughty and now I am too decent. I found them to be very friendly and helpful to me. It did not feel like I had met them for a decade. About a month after meeting Kristen, she asked me if I wanted to marry her because she wanted to enjoy a married life with her husband, which according to her was me, due to the fact that we had no more children and we were adults and able to make our own decisions and stable. We decided to get married. Our honeymoon was an exciting experience for us and we had a wonderful time. The whole time I was going through all of this, I was troubled by one thing in particular. Kristen had cell phone with her at the time. That became a source of irritation for me. Once I told her to stop texting on her cell phone during our honeymoon. When I said you had a lot of time to spend on your cell phone after our honeymoon, I said it sarcastically. It was a strangling laugh that she let out before stopping. After 15 days, our honeymoon comes to an end. After a few days, I went home after work and found a man and Kristen in the house. When they were sitting at the table, Kristen told me that this was her cousin who had been a friend from the time we were kids. Meeting him was a real pleasure for me because we had a lot of good memories together. After hugging him tightly, I told him to stay at our house that day because it was a rare occasion for us to meet. Since he was currently in town, he said we would meet again soon. Now that he was permanently in the city, I said that it was a good news to hear. As he explained to me, he left because he had some important work to do. It was a happy day for Kristen as well. As soon as I met him, I started having a bad time. From that point on, Kristen's attitude began to change for the better. This was an unbelievable situation. I was not aware that Kristen and her brother were preparing to play such a nasty game with me, as I wasn't expecting them to do so. Several days after the wedding, the incident destroyed my whole life. Due to my busy schedule at work and Kristen being at home, I was unaware of what she was doing. When I discovered that, it ruined my life. My boss told me to work from home once again since I had a project to complete. I made 2 keys for the house, one for Kristen and one for me. I came home at 10:55 and I heard some faint sounds from our bedroom. Kristen and her cousin were sitting on the bed when I opened the door. At the time, I was convinced they were sisters and brothers. That's all there is to it. As a result of their eyes catching mine, both of them were astonished and Kristen's face turned pale, like she had experienced a great shock by seeing me. I told him that you always come at the wrong time, but by chance I had given a day off from work to prepare for a few new projects that I'm going on. Quite honestly, he said, yes, I am glad you came by chance, otherwise you wouldn't have known when I came and when I left. In this way, I felt like he was sarcastic. However, as soon as I started talking to him, Kristen went to the kitchen to prepare something for us. During our conversation, I was able to find out more about her brother. He appeared to be less interested in me and he had his car keychain in his hand, so I felt like he was not interested in me at all. In the course of our conversation, he was constantly playing with that device. Then all of a sudden, he excused himself and said he had to go to the washroom and that he needed some fresh air as well. Leaving the room, he walked out of it. I changed my clothes in my room, and when I walked out of the room, he was sitting in the lounge and he told me he had to leave while Kristen was in the kitchen cooking. I don't know why he left in such a hurry. Afterwards, I went to the kitchen to get some snacks and found his keychain there. As a matter of fact, it was a bit suspicious for me because according to him, he was in the washroom, and even more interesting was that I found that thing where Kristen was making a meal for me. Perhaps I ought to be alerted in their dirty affair. There was no way that I could doubt them since they were sister brothers, and that was biggest advantage over me. Despite that, though, I was still bothered by his strange behavior because he was not like that even when he was a child. I once planned a lunch with my coworkers at a restaurant we frequented once. While we were on our way, I saw Kristen with her cousin and we decided to go together. The problem is that I was with my coworkers at the time, so I did not get a chance to meet them. After having lunch with my friends in the afternoon, I got back to my house in the evening, but Kristen had not yet reached the house. When I called her, she told me that she was with her friend and that she would be right back in a few minutes. In the meantime, I waited for her to arrive. There is no doubt in my mind that I can definitely recall the time when she came back home because I was constantly waiting for her. Around 10:50 in the night, she came. Upon arriving, she changed her clothes. In a polite manner, I asked her if it is not too late for her to come. What was the name of the friend you were with? Her friend Lena was with her at the time, she said. During the time she was getting out of the room, after telling, I said to her that I had seen you with your cousin just after lunch. After standing there for a while, she stopped and looked around. Then she shook her head nervously and said, yes, I forgot to let you know that he dropped me off at my friend's place. I did not find her answer to be convincing to me. There was a laptop that we both shared and which she used when I wasn't home. The truth of the matter is that I do not have much time to use my laptop every day, so in short, she uses the laptop most of the time. Since it was the weekend, I just wanted to watch Netflix on the laptop since it was a weekend day and I was just trying to enjoy the weekend. After opening the laptop and opening the browser for a few minutes, I received a notification that there was a message waiting for me. I opened that. I found that Kristen had forgotten to log off of her WhatsApp messenger on the laptop before leaving it. As I was watching Netflix, I didn't bother to ask her. However, I received a message from a contact on her WhatsApp chat that caught my attention. The fact that that is a picture of a dick shocked me a lot. As the WhatsApp app was logged in, so I could see all the chat, and she was currently chatting on WhatsApp. There was a lot of sexting going on. In response, she sent him a picture of herself in her underwear. In that moment, I felt like an asshole. Immediately, I was stunned because I don't know how she could be able to do that after just getting married a month ago. There was cheating going on by her. In the course of scrolling through the whole chat, I found that the person was her cousin brother with whom she was involved in an affair. I found it more surprising than I expected. I could see that they were still taking advantage of the fact that they were cousins in front of me. It had been many times that they had slept. In response to her question, she asked, "What would you tell them?" As I said, I was aware of what you were doing with your cousin behind me at the time. As she started begging me, she told me not to tell my parents about what had happened. My answer was that, okay, I won't tell them, and just say the reason for your marriage to me. If you were interested in him, why did you marry me? I don't understand why you play with my feelings like that." Then she told me that she was in love with her cousin and she wanted to marry him someday. Despite this, my parents were very strict because they disliked him and did not want me to marry him. The parents even locked me in the house for many months in order to prevent me from meeting him. However, I had a chat with him via a spare cell phone that nobody at all knew about, and he suggested me that I marry someone who had blind trust in me. "When you came to see me, we decided that you would be a good match for us since you were ready from birth to run our affair. When you came to meet me, we knew that you were the right match for us." There was a tear in my eye because I realized a devil was hiding behind the beautiful face of this young lady. Taking screenshots of what was going on in the chat room was my decision, so I locked her in the room. As a result, I called her entire family to come over in case of emergency. I showed them all screenshots when they arrived. As a result of their daughter, they had to deal with a lot of shame. She was slapped by her mother in her room. After she went to the room, it was my request that they bring her daughter along with them as well, due to the fact that she was no longer my wife. After apologizing to me, they went with their daughter. On that day, I realized that there is no one in the world who is loyal to you. Despite the fact that you did whatever you could for them, they did not even give you a shit about it. It was only a matter of their own concerns that concerned them. Nowadays, people think that fooling people is fun, and they enjoy it while committing crimes, as long as they can get away with it.